Well, young men are statistically more likely to abuse drugs at a young age. WSFL TV trusted advisor and CEO of Agape Treatment Center, George Mavrookas, stopped by in studio recently and told us more about the statistic and why young men are affected. Guys, young men abusing drugs, getting involved earlier. George,
yes.
Why?
I think that young kids want to fit in, and sometimes they don't fit in. Typically in school, younger people, you have three categories, right? You have the person who's great at school, scholastically, you have the person who's great at sports, and then you have the outsiders,
Sure.
right? So that's a third of your population. So if you're in that outsider group, what are you doing to stand out? Can you drink the most? Can you party the hardest? Can you get this prescription medication that someone in your family has and pass it out to your friends? And then what does that look like after that? What are the ramifications?
It leans on wanting to belong, right? I think especially high school, from elementary through high school, right? Those are very impressionable years. I know, thinking back to my time in school, I was the outsider, and it was very that. On the outside looking in, wanting to be a part of the cool crowd, wanting to belong, wanting to be accepted. Because for some kids, I would imagine, they're struggling with who they are. And so that validation they're seeking from an outside source. What should parents do, Stephanie?
I think parents can start to just be more open-minded to the fact that these things do go on. I think for so long it was kind of like what we see we don't know, right? So let me just play blind. But I think by playing blind, that's what actually enables it to go on. So I think it's about opening your eyes and having the courage as a parent to have these conversations that can be really difficult and uncomfortable. Be curious.
And even back in the day, you would say parents thought it was cool.
Yes.
Cool for the kids to drink at a young age and do things and always pass the torch. Passing the torch to what?
Right.
Generational curse? Trauma?
Exactly.
What are we passing the torch of?
And
Good point.
And also knowing that today, what drugs were then is not what they are today.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So there's been a huge change in just that regard. And now it's parents need to realize when your kid says they're smoking marijuana, let's not minimize that, because now we know people are spraying fentanyl on marijuana.
I was just going to say the opioid crisis here in America is rampant beyond comprehension. Fentanyl, of course. Yes, gateway drugs are just that. And that's a whole other conversation, but you are very right, Stephanie. I think you hit the nail on the head with parents making the choice and having the courage to sit their kid down and say, hey, what's going on?
Yes.
You grow from uncomfortable conversations.
That's right. And being curious about it. I think that parents, it's you don't come from the blame or the punishment. Be curious. What is happening that's leading you to this? What's going on in your life that's leading you to this? What's happening at school, right? Do you feel like the outsider?
Right.
Are you struggling to fit in? Do you feel like you don't belong? Have these difficult conversations, because in that's where we're going to be able to see real change.
Absolutely. George, I know you want to chime in.
Yeah, I just think that there's a variety of things. Sometimes kids are feeling unhappy at home, and this is why they're doing that. Same that it would be for adults. We've talked about it before, that sometimes people use it as a coping mechanism. If you have a young kid who's a teenager and he's heavily abusing things, why is he? Something's wrong. There's something underlying a real root cause.
There is. And layered with social media and just the availability of so much stimulus for kids readily available through smartphones, everything. I don't know how kids do it these days. There's a lot. But if a parent is watching right now that wants to get in contact with Agape, has a child that may need some guidance, where can they go?
They can visit our website, www.agapetc.com.
I wish we had more time to continue these conversations we have on Inside South Florida, but I think they're so wonderful. George Mavrookas, CEO of Agape Treatment Center, Clinical Director at Agape, Stephanie Rebelio. As always, an honor and a pleasure to have you on Inside South Florida. Thank you.
Thank you.